What's up, everybody? It is the Endless Boss Battle podcast. I think we're on episode 12.
Yep.
And yeah, this episode we're going to be doing our first manga recommendations episode. We're still going to start off with the news and whatnot. I am Scuba as always, and this is Snorlaxicus.
Yep. Every week, baby.
I don't know, since it's usually just you and me, I never know if the introductions are even, like, if it makes any sense, but, you know. It's usually, like, I hit him with the intro, and then, like, 5 minutes in, I'm like, oh, yeah, by the way, this is us. And it's like, of course it is.
Of course.
But yeah, so we're gonna do manga recommendations and mango recommendations and hit you with the news. And I think we're gonna start doing like every 2 months or so as we read more. If we read more, hit you with some more recommendations. But we're gonna hit you with like 3 that are really important to us. But yeah, let's hit the news because last time it was kind of hefty.
Yeah.
So first things first, Promised Neverland Season 2 was immediately announced, like literally immediately announced after the first season ended. And I don't think anyone's really surprised about that, but it's coming out sometime in 2020, which I'm hoping it's early 2020. Because that's something I don't really want to read the manga to. Because I feel like it's one of those shows where, like, it would ruin the show for me for how slow paced the show is.
Yeah, there's a lot of build up in the show, and I think it's like one of those where you have to understand, like, the 12 episodes they had in the anime crammed in 36 chapters, all into 12 episodes, and, that's just, like, insane to me, because, it means that, like, with the anime, it seems more rushed than the manga, but it's almost like it still follows that same kind of, like, slow build-up narrative, and I really like that about it. But yeah, like, I just feel like with Promised Neverland, the whole build-up of the show is just really slow. So, I can definitely see why you wouldn't want to read ahead in the manga for that, because, like, I feel like with the instrumentals, the tones, the music, everything like that, that are in the anime that make it really, really good, if you just read ahead, that would kind of be ruined by the time it goes live next year.
Yeah, it's like, at that point I would just be, I don't know. I feel like the only reason I'd want to read ahead is so that I could be that guy that's like, you all ain't ready for season 2.
Oh, y'all ain't read ahead yet?
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Well, I have. And you're not ready. But
I read this manga right on the printing press at a printing factory. I was right there in the line reading it before anybody else.
I was actually there when they were drawing it. So you're clearly nowhere near me. But another bit of information that ties with Promised Neverland is with Toonami's or Adult Swim or Toonami. Adult Swim teamed up with Crunchyroll, and they are premiering Promised Neverland April 13th. I kind of figured that once Crunchyroll linked up with them, that Promised Neverland was definitely the type of show that would fit right in. Like Toonami growing up was really into that, like, gritty, borderline horror stuff, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Once I saw the announcement and they were like, what shows do you want to see on Toonami? I was like, probably the Promised Neverland. That sounds perfect.
Oh, yeah, dude. Toonami had such good shows. Like, completely... Getting off topic a little bit. Toonami shows, like you said, were really gritty. And, Like, you have so many, like, even older shows, man. Like, you got shows like Dot Hack, which are like OG Sword Art, but like really good. And like even those, you just imagine like dudes trapped in a game, and like as a kid watching it, I just didn't understand like the deeper meaning to like Dot Hack. I just thought dudes were in the game like chilling, or like with Dragon Ball, I thought like they were just fighting every episode and that was it. But yeah, like looking back at it, I definitely see what you're talking about there. Like that is one of the shows Adult Swim would pick up.
And I think it's cool to think. I always think it's fun to look up, even though I haven't had cable in like 4 years. I love keeping up with what's airing on Toonami. Just to think of it in a way of like, imagine the kids growing up and being like, I remember Promise Neverland on Toonami. Like that, I don't know. That's really cool. Yeah. Like when I saw My Hero was on there, I was like, oh yeah, this is nice. Yeah, it's cool. Good news. I'm happy for Promise Neverland. Another bit of information. I don't know much about it at all, but I guess the comedy spinoff that I just found out existed, the manga just stopped. I think it ended on a good note from what I've seen, but yeah, that's over. But yeah, I don't think I'm gonna read ahead. You kind of read ahead, right?
Yeah, I read ahead up until episode 12 and maybe episode 1 of next season. I didn't read too far, but this is one of those shows where like I love spoilers, and I'm trying my best not to spoil it because I just think the experience of this type of show, kind of going back on what I was saying earlier, on the other episode, my experience with this type of show is going to benefit more if I don't spoil it.
Yeah.
And I just think, like I said, manga can capture some scenes insanely well. The drawing can be really, really well done. And, like, the environments and everything can look stunning. But to me, there's just something about, like, the atmosphere of an anime when put together really well, that just makes it more memorable to me. So, it's no offense to the manga or the manga readers, right? But like, when you got, like, the shots that they have in the show, like, we were talking the first person, like, going through the hallway scene, where it was all, like, ambient, creepy music, kinda.
Yeah, like, you're like, I don't know what's about to happen when they turn this corner or whatever.
Yeah, it's like you can't recreate that in manga, so, this one I'm really looking forward to the anime adaptation. First season was great, and, hopefully they keep it going.
Yeah, for sure. I heard that the actual manga is ending soon, which is like, people were a little upset that like it doesn't seem like it's gonna hit the big 3 because it ended so soon or whatever. I don't know. I'm not actually sure about that, but I saw some stir on Twitter about it, and I hope it keeps going. But next bit of information, I'll go ahead and tie it into 2 things because one of the shows we haven't seen, and I hate to say it, but Cells at Work Season 2 and ReZero Season 2 were announced. I haven't watched ReZero. I've had it on my plan to watch for so long, and when everyone was hitting the we're never getting ReZero Season 2, are we? I was like, well, I got all the time in the world. And now it's, I think it's playing in fall. So this year we are getting ReZero Season 2. And then,
damn.
Cells at Work Season 2 is something that I don't know if anyone was expecting.
I was not expecting a Cells at Work Season 2. I was expecting If anything, the Cells at Work Black, where it's like a more adult-natured show, where the cells are like living in the body of a middle-aged smoker with depression, like going through stress, and it shows like the side effects of all of that.
Yeah.
That's what I was expecting.
That would be cool.
Sorry to not have a comment earlier. I had muted my mic for a second, but
it's okay. I was kind of like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, ReZero, like we got to get on that, man. Like
I know.
Like I remember watching like maybe 5 or 6 episodes when it came out, and like not really feeling it, but like from what people have told me, that show is just insane, man. Like, I just thought it was like some dumb harem isekai, but like, I guess it gets pretty real. And the preview for it that we were talking about, which I'll pull up here in a second, was just, I was like, whoa.
Dude, I know. I there was that like him walking in a line surrounded by dead bodies with blood everywhere. I was like, what is this show?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it was really cool. I'm excited for it. I think definitely by then I will have watched the show. It's probably like one of my next couple of shows I plan on knocking out. Right now it's just spring season or winter season cram for our awards next week, but once we got a little bit of downtime, I'm gonna knock that out because I can't stop hearing praise about the show.
Oh yeah, man. We're on grind for sure. That show, it's really tempting to just pick it up and finish it in like today. Yeah. There's so many shows like that for previous seasons that I haven't seen that I just want to finish in one day, and I'm just like, I can't, man. And the thing that sucks about the whole let me doing the 1100 minutes in 10 days and watching all of the shows that are out this season and crunching them, man, I am so sick of anime. Like, I love it to death, dude, but it is like
that's why I was like, I don't know why you feel like you gotta watch it all, because that's just gonna make you not even I hit him up next week like, sorry guys, but Snorlaxicus, he's not about this life anymore. He watched everything in winter, and then we ended the podcast.
Watched every anime ever. There's nothing else. Nothing else can come out. Nothing will surprise me.
Next season, you're gonna be like, "Oh yeah, this is a decent show, but I watched 3 shows last season that were basically this, and it's just not worth my time." Like, okay, dude, damn.
Yeah, man. Like, it'll be wild. Yeah, we talked about ReZero for a minute and how we haven't watched it. Talked about second season of Souls at Work. I wasn't expecting it, but I'm excited because I love Cells at Work, dude. It was
that was a solid show.
Yeah, it was one of my top shows the season it came out, and I had read the manga a little bit before it came out. And I thought the manga was pretty good too.
That season was summer, I think, of last year.
Yeah.
And it was just a season full of comedy. Like, it was like Asobase, Cells at Work, like it was nothing but comedies. And Cells at Work was definitely one of the ones that I was like really into.
Yeah. Yeah, same.
All right, next up, there is a PV for No Guns Life.
Oh, man.
Now, this show, I saw the announcement when my anime list said that it was getting an adaptation, and I had been looking up seinen manga because I was like starting to get into manga really heavily, and this was on there, and I was like, wait a minute, this dude has a gun for a head? And it seems kind of serious, but the first thing that came to mind was Assy McGee.
Yeah.
which Adult Swim had, and it was just the police officer with the ass for a face. And this seems just like that. Like but honestly, man, like I think it's gonna be really fucking good. I know that this sounds crazy, but I think it's gonna be really good. Like I at first I was nowhere on the hype train, and then I was driving the train. So yeah, look forward to that. I think it's gonna be really cool.
You're the conductor. You're just out here.
Yeah, the conductor of the train. I'm a part of it. No Guns Life. Expected to blow you away. I don't know if it's gonna be. I don't know if it's a comedy. If it takes itself completely seriously, then that's even better.
I think it's like a noir-based, serious anime. Like, I think it's gonna be
so good.
Like, you know how we were talking Spider-Verse has Spider Noir. I think it's like that, but instead of Spider Noir, it's the dude with a gun.
Dude with a gun for a head.
Looking at it more, I don't even know if that's like an actual like he is a gun. It kind of looks like a helmet. So,
okay.
That I don't really know. It could be either way. He was smoking from like a little crack in it, so in the preview. So you never know. But if it is just his actual head is a gun, it's gonna make the show 10 times better than I already thought it was gonna be.
And I think with the title, I read somewhere, I think maybe in the manga description or something, that guns are... This sounds ridiculous. Guns are banned in the world.
Oh,
and
man.
he has a gun for a head.
So he's banned.
So that's a big mystery. It's like Psycho-Pass shit where they're like, yeah, I know guns are banned, but like, what are we gonna do? It's his whole body. Like his head is a gun. What do we do? How are we gonna stop this guy?
This guy's insane.
Yeah, like, I think this year is gonna be so wild, man. Like I can't wait to look at everything in perspective and be like, dude, in winter we had all these incredible shows. We had Dororo, we had Promise Neverland, and then we had Fire Force, and Dr. Stone was adapted into an anime, and then we had No Guns Life, where a man had a gun for a head. Like, fuck you, Mother's Basement. This year was the best anime year.
This year was the best anime. Best year for anime ever. The
greatest.
Best season. There's never going to be a season, never going to be a season better than the season where No Guns Life happens. Alright?
I don't care what other shows are playing.
And I am a credited source here, okay? I gave Dimension High School a 10 out of 10. I'm gonna give No Guns Life a 10 out of 10, even if it's a walking trash can.
Yeah.
This dude could have a trash can on his head. He could have a trash can.
No trash can life.
No trash can life. He could have a trash can on his head filled to the brim with every character in Darling in the Franxx, and I wouldn't give a fuck because this show looks dope. And it's going to be a 10 out of 10. I'm guaranteeing it right now. It's going to be the big three. It isn't going to be a part of the big three. It will be the big three.
No Guns Life. Check it out.
Hell yeah, dude.
Alright, next up we have bad news. Kengan Ashura, a manga that looks very, very good. It has an adaptation coming to Netflix that's also CG. Netflix is really, really about that CG life, but the best thing about this news is that the Twitter post where everyone saw it, it says, "Get hyped. because the first trailer of Kengan Ashura has just arrived from Anime Japan 2019. Adapted from the insanely brutal manga, it's a non-stop martial arts beatdown that comes to kick ass July 31st. And it's so bad. It's incredible. It's incredible that the video for this is like, you know, in your PV you want to show like hype stuff. You want to get people actually seriously excited about what you have going on. But this is garbage.
Yeah, dude. This CG.
Oh man, we talked about that boxing Levius or whatever that's coming out on Netflix, and I was like, you know what, like that doesn't look that bad. I'll give it a shot. And like you have like Agent and those that are also in that same realm, but this looks so bad. There's no, like, the backgrounds look ugly, the dudes look ugly. They look like PlayStation 1 characters.
It is such a...
And the audacity to say, get hyped, because the first trailer of Kengan Ashura has arrived. Like, what? Everyone in the comments, I feel so bad for everyone in the comments, because they're like, you know what? Just fucking read the manga. Like...
Yeah.
And it's like, man, we had the discussion where we were like, imagine reading a manga and being like really stoked about it, being like, man, the day that this gets adapted, it's gonna change the game. and then imagine Kengan Ashura being like one of your top manga ever that you've read. You're so stoked for this. You hear like kind of like, imagine you hear like rumors that it's getting adapted. You're like, wait a minute, they're making Kengan Ashura, and then they drop this video on you, and you're just like, oh, are you fucking serious, dude? You might as well have just not done it.
Yeah, dude, it is a giant disservice to the manga, in my opinion. Like, I'll give it credit. There are like 2 scenes out of the entire trailer that look cool, but that is like 3 seconds of a 48-second video. Like, you just can't do that, man. Like, it's such a huge disservice, and it's kind of damaging to a franchise when that happens. And it's like, you know, a lot of things aren't in manga creators' control. Like, you can sell your license for a studio to pick up, and then they can adapt it in a way that they want to, and depending on, you know, like, your contractual obligations, you have a say in how it goes or how it doesn't go. I'm really hoping that the writer for Kengan Ashura, the creator of the manga, I'm really hoping he did not get gypped or like screwed over in this and told, we're doing this our way, we have the license, we paid you, go fuck yourself. Yeah. I so hope that's not the case, because the manga it deserves praise, and all it got was like a platter of garbage.
It really makes me think about when they did the Ito collection. The Junji Ito collection, it's like everyone was so hyped, and then they just half-assed it. And it's like, dude, this is the greatest horror manga creator almost indefinitely. No one has ever argued with anyone that said that Junji Ito was the greatest horror manga artist. And then you make that, and it's like, dude, what is going on behind the scenes? And yeah, I mean, like, the biggest argument against people that love manga is like, oh yeah, how are your fight scenes? And, and to just think like, the fight scenes in the manga are probably better than this anime adaptation of Kengan Ashura.
Oh yeah.
And, major bummer. I feel really bad. I'm sorry about that, guys, but yeah. Yikes.
Yeah, if you're a fan of that manga, oh man, I am I'm sorry. If you can look at that trailer and be hyped at that show and you're a fan of the manga, good for you, man. But like, I'm telling you firsthand, I've read the Berserk manga since I started reading manga. It was probably my third or fourth manga I read after like Soul Eater and D Gray Man and stuff like that. Yeah. And I kept up with Berserk. I watched the old 96 series. I was in love with that show. And when I heard that the 2016 Berserk was coming out, I was hype. Even in the trailer, it was CG, but the trailer still looked pretty cool. And then when it came out, it was just a giant pile of garbage. There's like scenes where they have like Guts walking, and it just looks like someone moving a doll up and down in front of the camera to like walk out of screen, and it's just horrible, man. But like, I feel for people that like love this manga and it's getting this bad of an adaptation, because that happened to me with my favorite manga. And
okay, but let's think about it this way, at least. Like with Berserk, that's almost undoubtedly the greatest manga ever, and so many people love Berserk that, like, even though 2016, 2017 is bad, people like the Castlevania creators from Netflix and stuff, like, everyone wants to tackle it and give it justice, right? So one day we will have a better post Golden Age adaptation. I think. I assume we will. Anyways,
I really hope so.
So, Kengan Ashura, this is probably its only chance.
Yeah.
This is it. It's gonna get made into this Netflix show, and then it's gonna be bad, and then everyone's gonna be upset, and that's it. That's not that popular, you know?
Yo, what if this time next year we're doing the podcast episode like 50 or something, and you hit up the news and you're like, Kengan Ashura season 2.
Wow. People are like, yeah, I really like that Kengan Ashura shit. At that point, if something like that happens, then I would think that they would really just keep the CG going.
Yeah, probably. I mean,
like they would just, Netflix would switch over to its own brand of anime that's just CG versions of every single manga that everyone loved in their life.
Man,
and that's a nightmare. Let's move on. We got My Hero Academia. It became the 14th anime to reach 1 million total members on My Anime List. And also the second movie was announced. I think that's really cool because in under 3 years, My Hero Academia got 1 million members, and I mean 14 anime ever to have that many members. Like that's big for My Hero. I'm not surprised, but still cool nonetheless. The second movie, also not a big surprise. The first one hit it off big time. We went and saw it, and we got the last seats in the entire theater, so it was almost definite that they were going to get a second movie.
Oh yeah. That movie was worth sitting in the front row and hurting the fuck out of my neck for, dude.
Definitely. Would sit in the front row for that movie again.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully we're a little more prepared for the second one, and we probably will be. But still, if I had to, I'm there. Yeah, I think that's cool. I think in maybe Japan it's gonna air at the end of the year, and then who knows when we'll get it beyond that time. I think when the first movie came out, we got it like 6 months later, I want to say, but I'm not positive. Yeah, that's cool. Really good stuff from My Hero Academia. They'll probably, by the end of the series, we'll be saying news about My Hero Academia's like 20th movie. They'll be on that One Piece shit.
Oh, for sure, man.
Yeah, that's all I got for that. Anything you want to say?
Nah, just the hype. Seems cool. Yeah.
We have more to say about things that we don't know anything about. I don't know about King Ginishura, but what the fuck? Okay.
Man, like, it's just that, like, My Hero, regardless of my personal feelings on the show, it's popular, it's a good watch, so when it comes to a second movie being announced, not much else for me to say about it, because, in our first episode, we talked about My Hero, and a lot of times passed since then, but it could be 8th season of My Hero, and it would be about the same thing, so, not surprised about the movie, definitely gonna watch it, will probably be rated high, unless they fuck it up, Netflix directs it with fucking King Ginishura CG.
What the fuck? That would be insane. Wow. Alright, moving on. The No Longer Human manga is getting adapted into a movie, and I was checking out the fall season last night, and I saw it, and it was named whatever the translation is. That's not No Longer Human. What is it?
Oh man,
it's like something life. Human Lost. Nah, yeah,
Human Lost.
It's actually on the rabbit thing right now. So, yeah, it's called Human Lost. It looks pretty cool. I think I didn't read the manga, but I do know that when I wasn't even watching anime a couple years ago, people were talking about this manga as a big deal. So it's pretty cool that it's getting pushed into a movie. I think there's only like 3 volumes of the manga, so I didn't really expect the show, and if there was a show, it probably would have been drawn out pretty, like, way too much. So, the idea of the movie is neat.
Yeah, it looks really cool. I love cyberpunk stuff.
Yeah, definitely in that type of category.
Yeah, like we always talk, like, a lot of my favorite shows are either grimdark or like mech, and it's very rare to find a cyberpunk anime, to be honest, in my opinion. You have shows like Gantz, which I would put as cyberpunk, even though it's like kind of supernatural too. But like that and Ghost in the Shell and Ergo Proxy are like about it. Like,
and that's wild, because those things are so big.
Yeah.
And like, people love the genre. I wonder if it's just like kind of hard to make that thing happen, like Gantz and stuff. Like, I wonder if that type of vibe is just really hard to make unique or something like that. But yeah, the Afro Samurai dude is making this, which I just read.
So it's gonna be good.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy. That dude had so much going on in that 6 episode show. Yes, it's gonna be good. I planned on reading it recently, actually, and I was looking into collecting manga, and then I heard that was like out of print, but it's the #1 thing that people were recommending to be reprinted. And then suddenly the film was announced, and I was like, oh snap, that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited for the film. I've never seen the manga, I've never seen anything about it, and us talking about it right now is the first time I've heard mention of it at all, other than from you probably telling me like at work earlier about it. I love cyberpunk stuff. I'm definitely reading that manga. Like, you let me borrow Fire Force. I'm reading that after the show tonight, and then jumping probably directly into No Longer Human,
Oh, really?
because it's so rare that you get a good cyberpunk anime or movie.
I also heard that this is very psychological. Like it, a lot of people and like they'll have it in their manga collection. I've been watching a lot of those lately, and they'll get to No Longer Human, and they'll be like, "Yo, I still think about this daily."
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it's a good one.
Yeah, it's just I really hope it's good. I know it's going to be in CG, and I don't think CG's bad. I know we always talk
when
about
it's done right. Like,
yeah,
that's the thing is like if you care enough and have the ability enough, you can do it right.
yeah. I think for sure. Like we always talk about we share like the view from like Gigix videos where he talks about like
getting attacked by bad CG.
yeah, or like transitions between like hand drawn art and CG being like visually jarring. Things like that really suck, and CG that's really clunky and not well animated, that really sucks too. So I feel like good CG is possible to make something good. The last movie that I watched that was a cyberpunk anime movie was Appleseed Ex Machina. I loved the movie when I was younger, and I rewatched it recently, and you can tell that it was in an age where CG was not good enough to be attempting to make a CG movie like that. And the story's there. It's a great experience story-wise, but the CG and animation is just horrible, and it ruins the experience. So with that, it's another one of those you just better off reading the manga. And that's not to say like it was a bad development, because current CG needed the pillars of previous CG works like Appleseed Ex Machina, and even going back, Initial D used way old computer renders for the cars. So like, you have it needed those pillars to start getting better, and I understand like that's a necessity, but I really hope that the CG in this turns out good. From the trailer, it looked good, so I'm excited. I'm really excited.
Yeah, we'll see if I think it'd be cool to check it out, like if it's in theaters over here.
Yeah, for sure.
That's it for the news. We need like a little chime when we're finished with it.
Oh, yeah.
Moving on.
Yeah, I'll just we can just do that. I'll just take that sound clip out of you doing that, and then every single time it'll just be yeah, I'll just throw it in right there. We'll be good.
Oh man. All right, so now it's time for the meat and potatoes. We got the manga recommendations. Once again, I want to note that I have really only read Berserk before like the last I would even say couple months. I was kind of just a Berserk dude, and then I was like, you know what, I'm getting into anime so heavily, I'm gonna start reading some stuff. Picked from my favorite anime, and a couple things that I heard were good manga, and decided to get my core favorites out of what I've been reading recently. And as I start to read more, and as we keep going, we'll keep doing these episodes. But we got 3 from each of us.
Heck yeah!
And we're gonna talk about why we like them and why you should check them out.
And
what's up?
And since I've over my time of being an anime and manga fan, I've read a decent amount more since you started getting into it recently. Mm-hmm. So for mine, I'll be giving instead of my 3 recommendations, I'll give my 3 favorites, and then give a few recommendations for each based on what I thought about those favorites.
Cool. So first up for me, I've got Fire Force. I brought it up. I wanted to bring it up first because I kind of talked about it in our last news video. But Fire Force has been like the reason I haven't been accomplishing anything lately. It's a really, really cool book, made by the same guy that made Soul Eater. I think he's only made 3 things ever, and the other one's like something Ichi. Looked cool too. But anyways, Fire Force. I saw the announcement for it coming out this summer. People were talking about how great it was, and I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot, because Soul Eater looked really good, and wanted to see what this was about. Basically, people are spontaneously combusting in the world and just turning into fire elementals, and these guys are in these fire brigades, trying to say it without saying they're super powered firefighters.
They're they're super firefighters. That's what they are. Super powered firefighters.
So they all have these abilities to either harness fire or create fire. And there are firefighters that deal with fires, and then these guys that go out and take out the people that spontaneously combust. And the characters are so cool. There's a guy that has like a gun with fire bullets, and it's like an exercised gun, so it just completely wipes the dudes out. The main character has fire feet that he can fly with them, like Bakugo kinda. And the characters are so far from one-dimensional, it's incredible. Like the arcs, every single arc leaves me thinking about it afterwards. Like it's neat because they're investigating all of these brigades, and they'll go over to them, and everyone does something a little bit differently than the last. So all of these teams are doing things completely differently, and it's cool to go into their town and see how they run things and see how differently they do things. And then there's a lot of betrayal and people that are villains that weren't that were heroes originally, and I don't know who I can trust. I can't take all this heartbreak. And it's also a very, very mature read. I would say leagues ahead of Soul Eater.
Yeah.
For sure. You can tell how much the author grew just from this series.
Yeah, like just if I can just put in a little comment real quick. I'd recently given you the first volume of Soul Eater, or first chapter of Soul Eater, and I don't know if you flipped through it at all.
Yeah,
but in the manga for Soul Eater, I forget his name off the top of my head. It's probably right in front of me on my anime list, but the artist and the manga creator of Soul Eater, if you look, when he first made it, in like literally the first 20 panels, you have like a chick naked in a bath, and you're just like, you know, this was made for like young adult teenagers, because it's like that is the type of thing that artists or manga creators will do to pull in people who are going through like teenage style phases. They'll just put a half naked chick right in the first 5 pages, and then half the time, if you're like a teenager, you're just hooked from that point, and you just end up reading all of it.
There is some like satirical fan fiction going on, but it's not like, it doesn't derail anything, and I appreciate it. But yeah, I know exactly what you're saying, especially that early in the chapter.
Yeah, and to move into that, to talk more about Fire Force from that, I definitely see it as a more mature show, because it doesn't just throw that at you in the beginning. It actually does the opposite from what I've seen. I haven't sat down and read it yet, But I flipped through it, and toward the end, there was a scene where he was like groping a chick.
Yeah, it was like the basis for that was like she like stepped in front of him as he was walking to go stop somebody, and then he ended up like grabbing her boobs or something like that.
Yeah, it was something
definitely weird.
But like, I can appreciate when a manga does things like that and doesn't throw it in your face in the beginning. Mm-hmm. From what I flipped through, so far, it seems like most of it so far in chapter 1 is pretty serious, and there's like a few comical moments, but they really leave the fan service for moments where the fan service shines.
Can fit in.
Yeah, like where it fits in and where it really shines. It's not just like all over the place. And I think as an artist, he really matured from Soul Eater to this, and I think it just shows in just first glance alone, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's there's so much really serious backstory, and I remember even the other night, like, getting the backstory to how everyone joined the brigade and what everyone individually fights these fires for. And, you know, like, some of these people, the thing with people spontaneously combusting is, like, it could be anyone. It could be your wife. It could be your kid. It could be, like, your grandpa just suddenly spontaneously combusts in the other room. And like, there was one, I'm not gonna spoil exactly what was going on, but a guy was talking to another dude, and then he went in the other room, and then the other guy was reading a book, and he was just like, what is that smell? And then he looked down, and it was his body just turning into flames.
Man.
And he was like, oh shit, I'm just smelling burning flesh. And the other dude had to come in and take him down, like, on spot, because how dangerous he became in that short a time. And it's like, it's kind of like a zombie situation where you're like, man, I can't kill my dad, but also this isn't my dad anymore. And it's like, it really hit me in that kind of way. And yeah, the characters are awesome. The backstory is it's so thought out and intriguing, and it instantly became one of my favorites. And I can't wait to be caught up and have to wait nonstop for these chapters to release.
Yeah, it looks like it's gonna be I was gonna say a pun. I was gonna say it looks like it's gonna be fire, and then I didn't think about it until I was about to say it. But
I have been saying that, and every time I talk about it, I'm like, yeah, dude, it's flames. And then I'm like, shit, I didn't mean that. That's just way too stupid.
I ain't a dad yet. It's all good.
Exactly. Okay. I'll go ahead and let you move into yours, so I'm not just geeking out about Fire Force. But check it out, really.
All right. I'll move into mine. I'll get the big one out of the way first. Talked about it earlier. Talk about it almost. I reference it almost every episode. There'll be something about it. My favorite manga of all time is Berserk. 100%. Like we were saying earlier, it's very hard to argue that Berserk isn't one of the best, if not the best, manga of all time. It's just masterfully written, starts you out in like a fantasy setting of like almost like a medieval type setting. When I read it first, I kind of got vibes of like Lord of the Rings, kind of, but without like the like magic and shit going on. Mm-hmm. And it just seemed like some like knightly like like band of mercenaries joining Kingdom of Knights to help them win wars and stuff, and it was pretty good. But then it takes that turn in the middle that I'm not going to spoil, and yeah,
comes something completely different.
Yeah, it becomes something completely different. And if this page that I have up doesn't explain it enough, it is ranked on my anime list as the #1 highest rated manga and the 5th most popular.
It's the
And
Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood of manga.
yeah, and I almost feel like loving Berserk as much as I do is kind of crossing over to that normie territory. But fuck, man, is it so good. I don't care if it's like the most popular. I don't care if it's Dragon Ball Z level in like the next few years or whatever.
Yeah.
That it is a show I will rep until the end. It's great manga, great show. I was just saying show, but yeah, great manga. That's my favorite. There are a few recommendations I want to give based on that. And the first recommendation I want to give is, of course, Vagabond, like we were talking about earlier at work today. It's not as grimdark as Berserk is. It's pretty grimdark, but it's not as it's not as grimdark as Berserk. I've said that like 4 times right now. I apologize, but definitely worth checking out. Probably one of, if not, it is one of the most well-written mangas I have ever read. I'm not all the way caught up on it, and I can still say that with confidence. I'm like 2 or 3 volumes in, and the writing just blows me away. The story, absolutely amazing. Berserk is still my favorite, but Vagabond, like I was talking to you earlier, I said I've had multiple instances where I've had like 3 people tell me that this manga is their favorite and best manga of all time, and they're all from 3 different genres of manga readers. So that really speaks to the writing to me, the like story and tone and everything like that, that it can be that well made.
Yeah, I see so much about it, and like whenever someone shows off their collection, first of all, the volumes have all of their spines make up a picture. Like it
Wow.
all flows together, and it looks really neat. But yeah, they always note that it is like insane, like insanely good.
Yeah. I just it's speechless. It's the only manga I've read since Berserk where every single chapter I'm just like, damn, I just want to keep on finding out what's going to happen.
Is it just is the dude sort of is it just regular samurai stuff?
Yeah, so far from what I've read, it's just like regular samurai stuff about a dude and his best friend being in like a empire and being like samurais, and then they like split ways, and then pretty much what the synopsis says, dude gets framed and he's like considered a criminal. To pull away from this for just a second, I believe the main character in Vagabond is the inspiration for Yasuo in League of Legends.
That is cool.
Yeah. So I remember reading or watching like an interview where they were talking to like Riot creators and people that have made champions for League of Legends. And I remember hearing mention of that. Don't quote me on it because it might not be facts, but
yeah, he kind of has the look, so I believe it.
Yeah, when you look at him, you look at his style, just like his attitude and everything, the framed for a crime style backstory, it just fits perfectly. So, yeah, I'll stop rambling about that, go into a shorter recommendation for Berserk. the other one I want to recommend is actually Cells at Work Black. Well, I can't. Let's see. I can't find it. I also butchered that spelling. So, the reason why Cells at Work Black isn't as serious as Berserk. It still has comedy elements, right? But the artwork and the design of the much darker tone in this manga is really similar to Berserk, in my opinion. The writing isn't as good, obviously. Even the art isn't as good. However, this was another manga where, after reading Berserk, I genuinely enjoyed looking at the darker side of this, lighter subject.
Knowing how our tastes go and all that, this definitely sounds more up our alleys than the original.
Yeah, so I won't talk about it too much because it's pretty much just grimdark Cells at Work, and we already talked about that. So yeah, that's all for my first favorite and the recommendations revolving around Berserk for me. And then I'll let you go ahead and do your second one now.
Cool. Yeah, I the more we talk about the Cells at Work Black, I think that that might be the next thing that I jump into. Seriously.
Yeah.
That sounds super neat. Next up I have okay, should I go with my all-time favorite, or should I go with the other one? Should I save the best for last, or should I just go
save the best for last?
Okay, then I'll go with My Hero Academia Vigilantes. For those that haven't heard the other podcasts, I have to give credit to my friend Jeremy for getting me into My Hero Academia, because it actually made me care about getting into anime a little more heavily than just watching Bebop. And heard about this Vigilante series from him as well. And I heard about the main character sort of seeming like Peter Parker. He's got the Spider-Man style. His quirk is he has to put three I think limbs on the ground, and he can glide at the speed of a bicycle.
Oh man.
So it's nothing incredible, but his personality makes up for it. It's not even really a comedy spinoff. I would say it has the same tone as My Hero Academia. It's just cool because you're following these completely lesser people than the regular group, even at UA. And there's also the character Knuckle Duster, which is by far my favorite. I don't even think he has a quirk. He just kicks ass. And so while All Might is Superman, Knuckle Duster is Batman.
Yeah.
And it's so cool to see like this Spider-Man influenced dude with this Batman influenced dude that just has a mask on, a ski mask on, and just kicks people's asses. Like there are some chapters where this dude's just whooping people with quirks asses, and he's just really strong. And then there's also like these two dudes that are basically complete copies of Wolverine and Cyclops from the X-Men, and like it's really neat because first of all, the original author of My Hero Academia said that he loves the series, and then also all of his chapters where he talks about the characters, he explains what he was inspired by to make the character, and you can just tell that this dude really cared about the universe. And you'll even see these dudes run into the real heroes, the pros, and see just like the lesser pros that we've seen in the My Hero Academia show. And I don't know, it's it's just super cool to see this group of people, and it's not even them being in school or anything. It's just this grown man that doesn't have any friends, that just gets a squad of people together, and they just start fighting crime. And yeah, I heavily recommend it. I think that as far as the manga goes, the My Hero Academia, the original manga, is cool, and I am also collecting that, but I think it's kind of vanilla, especially if you've seen the show. But this is I keep wanting to say a more mature take on it, but it's
more
only
like
kind of a step up.
yeah, it's more like young adult in my opinion.
Yeah. So so if you're into it, I don't know how well known this is or anything, but definitely check this out if you're interested in superheroes or the My Hero Academia universe, because I've even had my friend Jeremy tell me that he also prefers Vigilantes over the original manga.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. Knuckle Duster is such a cool character, dude. Like, if someone came up to me and they were like, "What are your favorite My Hero Academia characters?" Obviously, I would say Toga and Mustard, right? But if they were like, "What is your favorite character in the entire My Hero Academia universe, including Vigilantes and other spin-offs?" Dude, it's gotta be Knuckle Duster. That dude is so cool, man.
Yeah, he's insanely cool. And you know from the get-go, like, the Bruce Wayne personality behind just a regular guy that isn't even, he's not rich, he's not well known by anybody. Like, he really is just a scrubby that just kicks people's asses and just ties up with this main character, and then suddenly becomes basically this dude's All Might. Is like, it's neat. It's really, really cool.
Yeah. I like
So
I was gonna say I really like how the series focuses on the people who have quirks that aren't as useful as the people in the Hero Academy.
Yeah.
And I just really like how their take on it is that they want to fight crime as well, but they know their limits and they try their best to like do what they can with what they have.
Yeah, it's neat. It's really cool that they know where they stand.
Yeah.
Like in My Hero Academia, some of the problems I run into is like, you'll have this dude that claims he's the craziest villain, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, there's no one that can step up to this guy. And then you have Deku step in and wipe the floor with him. And it's like, I can't really scale how strong these kids are compared to like these dudes that are the craziest villains. But these guys will be like, okay, if All Might shows up, we probably can't fight this guy. We got to get out of here.
Yeah.
And they know how good they are, and they still want to do well. They're not bad guys by any means, but they're not, the main character is as fast as a bicycle. So
yeah.
Yeah. It's good. I have it in my top 5 right now, but like I said, there's not a whole lot of manga that I've read that I'm like super super into, but this is one of them. So that's all I got.
All right, I'll go ahead and I'll move on to my second one.
Cool.
In terms of ratings, this manga is not the greatest, highest rated. However, I really like this manga, and we haven't really talked about it that much. But I have Arafuda, the main character, in this manga, as one of my favorite characters on my anime list. So I'll go ahead and get into this a little bit. So the English title for this, I'm horrible at Japanese pronunciation, so I'm not gonna try to pronounce the Japanese one for this one because it's pretty crazy. But the English title for this is Plus-Sized Elf, or some people call it Elf Can't Get on a Diet.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, it's about. It is literally about a elf that comes to the human world from her own world because she wants to try human French fries. And she's like, you know, they hear about them in these like legends of people that go to the human world, and she's like really, really inspired to go to the human world so that she can try out like human food. And she gets here and she tries French fries, and she becomes addicted, dude. So the whole manga is about her trying different types of fast food, different types of junk food, falling in love with it, and then finding out that she gained so much weight, became a little chubby, and now she can't get back to her other world. So the entire
Wait, hold on. Can she not get back to her other world because she's chubby?
Yeah. So
No way.
Yeah. So now her entire goal through the manga is she has to lose weight in order to get back and fight the craving of wanting to eat fast food all the time, because it's just all she's surrounded by. So I love this because it's a great comedy manga, and me being a bigger guy, I really like I really relate to this because
I was about to say, when it comes to us at work, where you'll be like, okay, yeah, I'm watching what I'm eating, and then it's like, hey, dude, do you want to get Wendy's? And it's like, let me get all this food.
I'm like, let me get a Dave's triple, a Baconator, a few of the buffalo chicken wraps, Baconator fries. And it's just like, yo, you really trying to watch your weight though? And it's like, I just sympathize with this character so much because it's like, I so badly want to lose weight, but it's so hard when all I'm surrounded by is fast food, and it's good and it's cheap, you know?
Exactly, yeah.
And so, like, that's why with this manga, I really, really loved it and was like, hell yeah. Like,
by the sound of it, it really doesn't deserve that score. Like 6.95, like it sounds like it's at least, I don't know if people are going into this expecting more than, it's like a Goblin Slayer situation, but yeah, I don't know. It seems like it's better.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's got a little bit of like fan service to it, but it's not too bad. With this one, like, I don't even know what to recommend, to be honest, because there are comedies, for example, like Nagatoro-san. I guess I could recommend Nagatoro-san, but I was gonna segue that into another one or like later. But like, you have comedies like Nagatoro-san where like it's just a dude in high school getting bullied by the girl he's in love with, and that show's pretty good. But there aren't really a lot of shows where it's like the main plot is just Elf coming to world and not being able to get back because she needs to lose weight because she's addicted to fast food. Yeah, so like that's gonna be my it's in my top 3. It's gonna be a recommendation for me. If you haven't read it, check it out. Especially if you're a plus-sized like dude or girl who struggles with this kind of stuff. It's a really funny take on it, and as long as you approach it lighthearted and not too seriously, then there shouldn't be any issues.
Yeah, that does sound really cool. And it's also more interesting because I feel like we might have sort of touched base on it before, but this is the first I'm like really hearing about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna look into that for sure. Next up, I'm gonna hit you with my favorite manga, and what I'm standing by right now over Berserk as my favorite manga of all time is Golden Kamuy. All right,
I knew this was coming.
So here's the thing: Golden Kamuy is we talked about our this in our year in review with the anime, because the first and second season were last year, but the manga is really, really, really cool, and I would put it above the anime for sure. Basically, it's really hard to get people into Golden Kamuy because they feel like it's just a bunch of male fan service. But the thing the thing about it is they will have male fan service as a satire to anime and manga doing that with female characters. And I think that that's such a fun take on that, because you'll have all of your female characters doing super serious things while these dudes are like in a sauna saying that their muscles look sexy. And but at the same time, these characters are like dead serious when they need to be. And the backstories, like I was saying with Fire Force, like when they hit you with backstory for someone, it's like 3 chapters long, and you're just at the end of it, you're like, man, that was exhausting in the best kind of way. Like, I feel like I went through every single feeling that this dude was going through. And you'll get it with your villains, you'll get it with dudes as they are villains, you'll get it with like everyone in the squad. You'll even get like a backstory moment from 5 years ago, and then a backstory moment from when this person was a kid, and you just never know what to expect with it. And on top of it being slightly comedic, you also have like these moments where they educate you on the Ainu, like indigenous tribes of Japan, and it's very educational. You learn about food that's getting made. You learn about like the specific Japanese military, and it's like it's crazy. You follow different squads. As so the premise is everyone's trying to get these tattoos, and tattoos were made by some dude in prison, just tattooed everybody, and all of the tattoos create a map of where this treasure is, apparently. And when in the beginning, when you're like, okay, this is about to get down and super gritty, and these people are just going to murder each other over these tattoos, which is true. You also have moments where it's like, I feel like we're not even really going for the tattoos, and we're actually instead just getting hit with like a really serious arc doing something else. And it's drawn really well. The main character has this thing going on where he is immortal, or he says he's immortal, but like actually there's like a mystery where you're like, man, is this dude really immortal? Because of the lucky breaks he gets. And yeah, he just walks around calling himself the immortal Sugimoto. And yeah, I don't know, I loved the anime, but I didn't give it a 10. And then I read what, like 190 something chapters and caught up with the manga, and it blew me away. I was like, this is the first thing I'm going to collect all the volumes of. Like it, so many characters are lovable. I cannot recommend reading this enough. Like, if you think it's just a dude humping a bear or naked men, or all the other goofy like Golden Kamuy out of context screenshots that you've seen, it's really not what's going on. It just makes it 10 times better. And Yeah, don't take it as that because it's less comedic than you think it is. It's a super good military. I haven't seen anything that comes close to like gun military manga or anime.
So,
And, yeah.
so what was it about the anime that you didn't give it a 10 out of 10 for? Was it the horrible fucking CG fire, or was it the horrible CG bear that appears in like the first 2 episodes?
The grope that everyone has with it, with the CG, like I didn't feel like either of those fucked me up that bad because of the type of tone that I was going into the show with. I originally thought that the show was a lot more popular than it was. Like I was like, oh man, everyone's talking about Golden Kamuy, but I think it was just the goofy shit in the manga that I was seeing that everyone was like, you need to read Golden Kamuy or watch Golden Kamuy because this guy's walking around with other people's body parts on him. But I don't know, the anime just like when you read a manga that's that well made, sometimes the anime adaptation just can't really do the justice that that you felt when reading it, and
Right.
that's all I'll say. I still gave it season 1 and 8 and season 2 and 9 because it was still really good. But yeah, the CG bear and the CG fire was it was pretty bad. But I think it's kind of funny because they seem to just take that into season 2 and just kept the same CG bears showing up, and it just kind of it's sort of like, what can I say about this? So it's sort of like in Konosuba when you get hit with like goofy fan service and you're like, I mean, I can't really be that mad about this because it's like its satirical nature just makes that work. And I think a lot of people can use satire as an excuse for bad things, but the CG bear was like, it kind of fit the bill. It fit the bill for the show to be like goofy as fuck, but still be serious in that moment with the CG bear somehow. But yeah, that's all. That's all I got for manga recommendations for part 1. Been reading a lot of stuff right now that I really like, but don't feel comfortable enough like giving it an entire recommendation synopsis. So in 2 months I'll definitely come back with some more stuff, but I'll let you go ahead and get to your third.
All right. For my third, I talk about this manga a lot because I love horror, and I love psychological horror. I love thrillers, in a completely different realm from Berserk. Berserk's just so many things that I like, but this manga I really enjoyed reading, and I couldn't wait until like the next chapters were made and stuff like that. But for me, my third manga is gonna be Mahou Shoujo of the End. See if I can pull it up here. Alright, it's not being nice to me today, so I'll just talk about it a little bit instead of having the visualization.
I'll look for it while you talk. I got it.
Magical Girl of the End. Oh, wait, I found it. Here we go. Yeah, we got it. Okay, so Magical Girl of the End, it's another show that's not rated that high. And I understand why it's not rated that high, because it is just like, it is a fucking roller coaster, man. Like, it takes so many elements of things like Junji Ito, for example. It takes elements from like his artwork and applies it in different ways. It's like a post-apocalyptic setting. Pretty much, to go over the synopsis, just to get people what the basic idea of Mahou Shoujo of the End is about. this main character, he's just a normal high school dude, goes to school one day, looks out the window, sees like a magical girl cosplayer or whatever. He's like, oh, she's just a cosplayer. Gets up to go to the bathroom and comes back, and this girl had killed the security guard and jumped through the window and had killed everyone in his class almost. And he's just sitting here staring at her. And you come to find out, like, a few pages later, it's a magical girl apocalypse. These pretty much autonomous, robotic magical girls with superhuman strength and abilities are going around and just slaughtering all of humanity. And the story is about this dude trying to survive through the apocalypse, while all of this crazy shit is just happening everywhere. And it's about the characters that he runs into, and like there's like bonds that he forms with certain characters, and they'll just die. Like, you'll be like, there's no way that they would kill this character off in the middle of pretty much their arc, and boom, it's done. They're done. Toast. And it's very gory, pretty grimdark. It's not as grimdark as, say, like Warhammer, for example, or like a universe like that, but it is dark, it is gory, very suggestive content, about the same as, like, when Goblin Slayer came out, there was the scene at the beginning that had a lot of controversy. There are a few scenes in this that are just like that. And even one of the main characters that you meet along the way is in the process of doing something like that when you meet him. And it's crazy because that you can find a character like that does something heinous, such as, like, in his case, sexual abuse, and then the character, he's just written into the universe so well that you kinda like him, and then you feel bad for liking him because he's a piece of shit. So, like, yeah, I feel like Maho Shoujo of the End, in English it's called Magical Girl Apocalypse. Very good manga. It's great if you love psychological thrillers, thrillers in general, and anything with like an Armageddon post-apocalyptic setting, or even just apocalyptic setting.
Is she like the femto of, like, Berserk? Like, is she like the iconic bad person?
So
that he's like just trying to get away from?
There is, without spoiling it too much, there is a girl from his past that links to everything that's happening. And the main girl in this picture here, she's not really like the main character, or like a mascot or anything like that. She's just one of the autonomous robots, or they're pretty much robots, that are created for this purpose. Not to spoil it like that anyway, but there are just hundreds and hundreds of these autonomous robots just like going around the entire world, just killing any living thing they see. And to me, seeing the characters' reactions to an apocalypse like that, where when they're like, if I see a magical girl like that, I'm pretty much dead. That thought process, and how they have to like work around like going into public and staying together and trying to defend themselves against them, is really great. And I love shows that do that, personally.
Yeah, because I think that when things get too real, a lot of people are like, I don't really want that shit going on. But at the same time, like, when it comes to extreme horror, I know it's kind of touchy, but like those very serious things are going to happen. And that's I don't want to defend Goblin Slayer because I think that the anime was fucking garbage, but that type of thing is a good basis for letting you understand what's at stake.
Yeah.
Like, this situation's really fucking serious. Like, we are going to fucking die if we run into these things. I'm not speaking for someone that has read this, but you've talked about it a lot, and it seems very cool.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited because I read it all online, and recently I bought a whole bunch of manga. I should have said this with Berserk. For just to go back way back earlier in the episode, when I mentioned Berserk. One of the recommendations I should have gave, in addition to that, was Claymore. Claymore's really good, and that it fits the same style as Berserk, so that's a really good one. But I recently bought Volume 1 of Claymore, Volume 1 and Volume 2 of Maho Shoujo of the End, and the deluxe edition Berserk Volume 1 hardcover. And I have never really got that super into collecting manga because I can just normally read it online. But I'm so excited to have physical copies of this because now people that I know that are into horror, that are into grimdark, I can be like, just read these first 2 volumes and like tell me what you think, because it might not be good to those people. But, like, it's such a teeter-totter of, like, this is good or this is bad, and it can go both ways, that I like seeing people's reactions to it. For, like, me, it might be good. For someone else, it might be bad, but,
yeah, I definitely understand if you're not into that type of thing. The thing for me was when I was writing horror, like back in middle school, I was like, I want my main goal to be that I want people to read it and be like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? And that was what drove me. And so I looked up, like, one summer, just really quickly, sorry, I know I'm completely good enough. I looked up, like, the most disturbing movies ever made. And I went through a phase where all summer I just watched, like, Cannibal Holocaust and Martyrs and a whole bunch of just shit I would never fucking recommend to anybody ever, just to see, like, what is the limit, like, what is the line for people. Like, it kind of ties in with my interest in psychology, where I'm like, yo, they had an entire crew working on this movie, and it's some shit that, like, I watched when I was 12 and I still think about today, because it was that fucked up. And, like, I guess over time I've been like, I am not interested in something that doesn't have plot, but if it's really extreme and, like, it's got a decent story going, then I'm not as phased as, you know, someone that just heard about this fantasy show and checked out Goblin Slayer, and they were like, oh shit, I don't think this is for me.
Yeah, it's like with the show like this, the title says it all. The title says it all, the opening graphic says it all, and on the back of the manga there's probably a synopsis that just explains what it's about. So if you go into it expecting anything less or more, you're gonna be disappointed or upset. And Definitely. That's what I feel like people got with, like, Goblin Slayer, since we were talking about that. People went into it expecting it to be this deep, fleshed out story, and it just says right in the title, right on the front page of the first cover, on the back, on the synopsis, it's just about a dude that hunts goblins. And I agree, not a lot of people are into that, but when you look at it for what it is, it's pretty good for what it is. But but it's not going to be like a masterpiece, for example. And I feel like this manga, Mahou Shoujo the End, is like that. It's like, it is an apocalyptic magical girl gore fest almost, and there's a lot of gore. It does work on shock factor a lot, but the story's still pretty good, in my opinion. I think the story of like trying to survive, and the fact that if we look here on my anime list really quickly, there are whoops, that's a little far down. There are 8 main characters. There are 8 people that are considered the main characters. And just the fact that any one of these 8 characters at any point, doesn't matter what they've done, how important they are to the story, anything, they can die just by running into one of these magical girls. So it's just, it hits you on that level of like, even when you think that the main hero is going to figure everything out and save everybody, for lack of better description, they just get completely destroyed, and you're like, what did I just witness? And I think it really like serves to help explain that type of reality. Like, in reality, you're gonna have heroes, and sometimes those heroes aren't going to do what they're destined or seeking out to do, and they will just get demolished before they get a chance to do what they need to do. And I really like it. I've talked about this longer than any other manga tonight, even though Berserk's my favorite. But yeah, I'll say check that out. Won't go too into it because we've been running a good amount of time tonight. But what I would recommend for these, I'll just call out the names real quick. I Am a Hero, from what I've read, seems super similar to this.
Definitely.
It's like Japanese Walking Dead almost.
Yeah.
And yeah, that I'd recommend. The Pupa manga, Pupa, that's pretty good. The show I've heard is garbage, but
yes,
it's I think it's the lowest rated show on anime list, but
oh man,
yeah, but the manga is really good. Would recommend reading that if you like this like apocalyptic grimdark stuff, because it focuses on like a big widespreading disease, and that one's pretty good too. And maybe the last recommendation I would give in tying in with this, I know that I seen you and Jeremy talking about it the other day, and I decided to read a few chapters, and I'm really getting into it, is Freesia. I'm pretty sure I've seen you and Jeremy talking about it. But it's the one where all of there was a big war from Japan, and they passed a law where like if someone kills someone you love or something like that, you're legally allowed to kill them instead, or like get revenge, like retaliatory killings. And the manga just focuses on a guy who like works for a company that specifically does that. So like, say someone's like, my wife cheated on me, and then the person she cheated on me with killed her, and I want revenge for her, or something crazy like that. Then the dudes in this company will be like, okay, let's go kill this dude that killed his wife. And it really opens up a lot to like the world in like a what if type scenario. But yeah, I would recommend that as well if you like reading Magical Girl of the End. But yeah, that's I'm gonna wrap that up. I've been talking for like 10 or 15 minutes straight. My bad. But yeah, that's about all I gotta say for the for that. But yeah. It's I think Scuba either disconnected or is not here. That's unfortunate. But yeah, so if I can go into talking about it a little more. Oh, we're good. Okay, thank God.
Audio?
You're good. I can hear you now.
I think we might be having audio problems. I don't know if you guys hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Or not.
Oh, man.
But I think... Oh, you can't hear. Okay. Yeah, check out that Frisia. I tried to look into it to see what I might have been talking about the other night, but I didn't see it. But yeah, that pretty much rounded us up anyways. So, yeah, I got the green light to finish it up. So, sorry about that, guys. But that's pretty much it for manga recommendations. Thanks for stopping by. This is really exciting news because we finally got put up on Spotify. You can download the episodes, support us on there, follow the podcast if you can, so we can get a gist of like who is checking it out on there. We're definitely going to keep doing it anyways, but we're really thrilled about that. It's the listening device or the listening app that we all use, and yeah, it's kind of a dream come true to be able to just look up our podcast on there. It's really neat, but
yeah.
Other than that, click like, subscribe to the channel. I'm Scuba Drop over on Twitter, and he is Snorlaxicus. We're thinking about maybe making a Twitter page for the channel. Maybe not. I don't know if we would put a lot of time on there, but if it's something people think would be helpful in any way, then we'll go for it. But next week is the big one. I think it's going to be like a couple hours long.
Hell yeah.
We're doing the awards for this season. I need to stop holding off on watching the quintuplets and Promised Neverland finale. Get all these shows ended. Hold back the tears. And yeah, we're going to get the best of, the worst of all these categories out. The cool thing about this award thing coming up is all the winners of the categories for the season are going to be the nominees at the end of the year. And yeah, so they're going to hold a pretty big place. It might be, I'm thinking right now it's probably going to be like 2 to 3 hours. I don't know if we're going to do news. Depends on how big everything is. We might just do a little less news. But yeah, that's about it. So thanks for stopping by, and we will catch you guys next week.
Yeah.
See ya.
See ya.